Isn't the problem, though, that the government frames it that way? I remember Simeon Brown said the same thing when the doctors had their strike.
It's exactly with nurses earn $125,000 on average. They don't. But they're trying to say, look at these greedy people.
Like, he referred to how much they get paid, and he's not just throwing it out there. He's very clearly saying, why should we have sympathy for them when they should just be doing their jobs that they're very well paid to do? Isn't the government the one doing the politicking here and not those that are on strike?
Well, the context is important, right? Which is the claims made by the union, and the doctors' union was the same in relation to that last year, I think it was, are often erroneous, and people, don't necessarily put out the right information. He was making.
Can you give some examples, Bish? Like, I'd like to know if they're giving out wrong information, what some examples of that would be. That would be useful.
The point there that doctors actually are well paid, and I'm making the point around nurses. Average nurse is around $125,000. Now that's an average. Not everyone does,
and it's because it's not true. Not everyone does. You're correct. 99% of people don't. We've done the numbers. Look on YouTube. Look at the clip from yesterday, last night. We went through them with Craig. It's not the case. Remember, if the average nurse gets 125,000, that means you need people on 175,000 to offset the ones on 75,000 to get to that average. So by definition, you have to actually have people earning more like 170, 180K and others earning 70 or 80K to get to your average. And it's not the case. It's not the case. It's not the average nurse. And the nursing unions told us before that the number of overtime shifts you'd actually have to do to get even close to that is horrific. So it's technically possible if you want to have no life and sleep at the hospital and get all those hours. But then they're also telling you can't have overtime work. So it's technically possible to get to with this overtime, whilst New Zealand NZ Health is saying there's no overtime. So which is it? Because you can't get that overtime if you're not allowed the overtime to then use as an example of how you could get to that dollar value. You seem to be wanting to have your cake again, government, and eating it too. Doesn't work that way.
It includes allowances and things like that, and there's a stepped pay increase, and that's part of the negotiation that is underway right now. So my point is, get back around the negotiating table. That, I think, serves patients and the public interest better than strikes that put at risk planned care. There's a bunch of people out there who've had messages from their from the health system in the last week or so saying, look, sorry, we're going to have to defer or cancel your appointment. People will be enormously brassed off about that, and you can understand why.
It's interesting when the nurses are saying that their main concern is patient safety, and every time you talk to the government, they talk about pay. They recognise that this is something where they can try and wedge New Zealanders against the nurses.
Well, it's a pay negotiation. They're in a pay negotiation. They're literally in a bargaining round for pay. So
they've made it very clear that this is about understaffing.
I just want to very quickly touch on.
There you go. And that kind of flew off into another conversation, so I just pulled out there. So there you go, Ems. You're welcome to jump in. What are your thoughts? Those greedy nurses?
Look, I would never put my hand up to do that job.
The problem, though, that the
and if I wouldn't put my hand up to do the job, then I'm quite happy that someone else gets paid to do it. And I'd like that person to be highly qualified and very good and gets a lot of sleep and gets paid and remunerated correctly so that I get the best care and I don't have to wait too long for my care. And if that means paying them more, then we should pay them more.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, I told this story last night, but just for people who weren't here, Chewie and I were at an event on Friday night where Chloe Swarbrick was speaking, and Chloe told us a story of a conversation with her and her best friend. Her best friend is retraining to be a nurse. In a class the other day, the lecturer said, how many of you are planning on leaving for Australia? And 90% of the class put their hand up and said, we're leaving for Australia. So we're not actually training nurses for New Zealand now. We are a feeding system to the Australian health system. Remember, 10,000 nurses. Since the election, 10,000 nurses have made themselves available, have registered to work in Australia. Doesn't mean all 10,000 have gone yet, but 10,000 have said, oh yeah, I better get myself ready to go. So you've got 2,000 new nurses, Bish. Okay, what if that 10,000 leave? It means you're down by 8,000. More work, please, more work.
Yeah.